As an INTJ, you pride yourself on foresight and strategic thinking, right? But what if I told you there are critical blind spots, unseen weaknesses that even you miss, holding you back from true potential? Get ready to uncover the surprising challenges most INTJs don't even realize they have. Let's start with a quick scene you might recognize. You build a brilliant plan for a work project, clear milestones, a neat Gantt chart, risk analysis, contingency plans. You hand it off to the team, confident it will run like a Swiss watch. 2 weeks later you're shocked. The plan didn't fail because of the technical hurdles you anticipated. It stalled because 2 stakeholders weren't emotionally bought in. The facts were solid. The politics and feelings were ignored. The deadline slipped, not from a lack of intelligence, but from a hidden assumption that logic would be enough. That's the architect's hidden crack. And that's what we're here to fix today. In this video, we're going to unpack the blind spots that most INTJs never see coming. Not vague platitudes, specific patterns that quietly sabotage progress and relationships. You'll hear why your strongest tools can turn into traps, how your internal certainty can block feedback, and what to do when people don't follow the obvious best plan. Stick around to the end for a practical self-audit you can use this week to close the gap between strategy and reality. Let's begin with the core paradox of the INTJ. Your greatest strength, strategic foresight, can become your most dangerous weakness when it hardens into overconfidence. When your inner model feels complete, it's easy to treat new data as noise, not signal. You think, "I've already accounted for that." But the world changes mid-flight. Markets shift. People resist. A plan that was perfect at 9 a.m. can be wrong by noon. The fix is not to doubt your intelligence, it's to install a simple, assumption refresh habit. Before major decisions, ask, what facts would make me change my mind? Who benefits if I'm wrong? What's the smallest experiment I can run, this week, to test the riskiest assumption? By turning your final answer into a testable hypothesis, you keep your edge without locking yourself into yesterday's certainty. Another blind spot hides in plain sight, dismissing emotions as inefficient. You don't hate people, you just love efficiency. But relationships run on feelings, stories, and trust, not just logic. When you share a plan without reading the room, people hear coldness instead of clarity. They don't resist because it's wrong, they resist because they feel unseen. The fix is to treat empathy like another data channel. You don't have to become a therapist, just add 2 lines to your meetings. Start by naming a shared concern. I know this change creates uncertainty, and end by asking one open question. What would make this easier for you? It takes 60 seconds and saves weeks of silent drag. Perfectionism is another trap that looks noble on the surface. You want elegant solutions. You want to do it right, but perfection is a moving target that delays momentum and strangles learning. The longer you hold a plan in your head, the less real-world feedback it gets. And the longer you wait, the more you fear showing it, because now it should be flawless. The fix is to aim for clear and testable, not perfect and private. Ship the outline. Share the skeleton. Let version 1 be ugly but alive. Momentum compounds. Every iteration makes you smarter than another week of solitary tweaking. Then there's the closed feedback loop. INTJs often curate who they listen to, usually the smartest, most competent people in the room. Sensible, right? But if your circle thinks like you, you're only confirming your own map. Real blind spots hide in the perspectives you don't naturally respect. The fix is to build a deliberate dissent routine. Once a week, bring one smart generalist and one frontline pragmatist into your planning process. Ask each to poke holes. Don't defend. Take notes. Your future self will thank you, and your plans will finally survive contact with reality. Here's a quieter blind spot: calculating for systems, forgetting the outliers. You optimize for the 80%, but the 20% derails the timeline. One burned out teammate. One insecure stakeholder. One misaligned team lead. The human factor is never just edge noise, it's the hinge. The fix is to identify the single most human-sensitive step in your plan, the moment where morale, ego, or fear could blow it up. Build a small buffer there, an extra check-in, a little slack time, a second owner for redundancy. Strategy isn't just about mapping the terrain, it's about protecting the convoy. Delegation can also trip you up. When others move slower or cut corners, your impulse is to reclaim control. You jump back in, do it yourself, and tell yourself it's just faster this way. But that's short-term speed and long-term stagnation. If only you can do it right, you become a bottleneck. The fix is boring but powerful: define, done, in concrete terms before handing off. Share examples of acceptable output. Set a check-in halfway through, not at the end, and give one correction, not 5. You'll get 80% of your quality with 20% of the micromanagement, and you'll buy back hours of your life. Another blind spot shows up in communication under pressure. When deadlines loom, your language can turn clipped and surgical. The intent is to remove fluff. The effect is that people feel sliced. They go quiet, give you minimal compliance, and stop telling you when something's off. Silence looks like alignment, but it's actually risk. The fix is to add a tiny warmth tax to your messages. One sentence of context before directives, one sentence of appreciation after. Thanks for jumping on this with short notice. Buys more speed than any hard-edged email ever has. Let's talk about over-optimization. INTJs love building elegant systems, workflows, budgets, routines. But the pursuit of elegant can kill effective. You stack automations on top of automations until the system becomes fragile. One small change breaks 10 dependencies. The fix is to define your floor and your ceiling. The floor is the minimum viable system that achieves 90% of the outcome. The ceiling is the point where additional complexity gives you less than a 5% boost. Stay between them. When in doubt, choose the system you can maintain on a bad day. Here's one you may not expect: time blindness for the mundane. You can estimate complex tasks well, but underestimate simple tasks constantly: emails, scheduling, coordination. You assume they'll fit in the margins. They don't. They crowd your day and make you resentful. The fix is to bundle the boring. Block a daily admin sprint and set a timer. Clear the queue, then get back to deep work with a clean head. Treat logistics like brushing your teeth, not glamorous, but non-negotiable. Identity fusion with competence is another quiet trap. You're proud of being capable. So when you try something new and stumble, it feels like a threat to who you are. The result? You avoid arenas where you're not instantly good. That protects your identity but shrinks your world. The fix is to separate identity from outcome. Keep a beginner ledger, one space in your life where you're intentionally bad at something on purpose. It teaches your nervous system that being unskilled is not unsafe. Ironically, this makes you more daring in arenas that actually matter. Let's step into relationships, because this is where hidden cracks become sinkholes. One common INTJ blind spot is assuming that love equals shared goals and mutual growth. That's part of it, but people also need to feel enjoyed, not just improved. If every conversation becomes a strategy session, your partner will feel like a project. The fix is simple. Schedule unproductive time. Go on walks with no agenda. Ask about feelings without problem solving. Replace "have you considered" with "tell me more" twice a week. Connection grows in the spaces where nothing needs to be optimized. Another relationship pitfall is truth delivery. You value honesty and clarity, so you say the thing others avoid. That's admirable, until it turns surgical. Truth without timing and tone can land as contempt. The fix is to add a 3-second buffer. Before you offer the hard truth, ask yourself 3 quick checks. Is this the right moment? Is this the right medium? And have I earned the right to say it? If any answer is no, adjust. You'll still be direct, you'll just be effective. Under stress, shadow behaviors can emerge. You might swing from long-range planning into sudden sensory impulsiveness. Comfort food binges, buying sprees, doom scrolling, or reckless workouts. It's not who you are, it's what your system does when order feels threatened. The fix is to pre-commit outlets for stress that are both physical and controlled. Heavy lifting, breathwork, cold showers, short runs. You don't have to like them. You just have to know they work better than burning your weekend on random dopamine. Let's talk career politics, the arena many INTJs would rather ignore. You believe merit should win. You're not wrong. But influence often decides which merit gets noticed. The blind spot is treating politics like corruption instead of communication. Playing the game doesn't mean selling your soul. It means mapping stakeholders, understanding incentives, and speaking to what people value. The fix is to keep a simple influence map. For each project, write down who can greenlight, who can kill it, and who can stall it. Identify one person you'll brief early and one person you'll thank publicly. That's not manipulation, that's leadership. There's also the invisible loneliness problem. You rationalize isolation as independence. You don't need people, you just prefer your own head. But isolation dulls your pattern recognition and robs you of emotional calibration. You can be the smartest person in an empty room and still miss the point. The fix is to treat connection like training, not indulgence. Host a monthly dinner with 2 thoughtful friends. Join one mastermind, one hobby group, or one community that has nothing to do with your career. Your mind gets sharper when your life gets broader. Here's a tricky one, the "I'll show you" motivation spike. When challenged, you kick into overdrive and prove people wrong. It works, until you burn out or succeed in winning a game you didn't actually want to play. The fix is to re-anchor goals to values, not to opponents. Before sprinting, ask, if they vanished tomorrow, would I still want this? If yes, run hard. If not, let the challenge go. You're not here to win every argument. You're here to build a life that fits. Now let's talk about a subtle planning flaw: optimizing for stable conditions. You're great at designing for how things should work. But the world is messy. The plan that thrives is the plan that adapts. The fix is to build plasticity into your designs. Add branching paths in advance. If resources drop by 20%, what's the slimmed down version? If timelines slip, what's the salvageable core? If a key person leaves, who is the understudy? Pre-building these forks keeps you calm when chaos hits, because chaos becomes a scenario you already solved. Another blind spot is context collapse. You apply a winning principle from one domain to another without adjusting for the new rules. What worked perfectly for a hackathon fails in a 6-month organizational rollout. The fix is to do a quick rules scan whenever you switch arenas. Ask, what counts as winning here? Who keeps score? What is considered rude, slow, or risky in this context? Adjust the principle, keep the spirit. Let's address learning. You love knowledge but can fall into hoarding information without integrating it. You read 5 books and write neat notes, but the habit never changes. That's an execution gap. The fix is to implement one concept per book before starting the next. 1. Not 3. Put it on your calendar. Track it for 2 weeks. Only then move on. Knowledge that doesn't alter your calendar is entertainment. Knowledge that changes your routine is leverage. There's also the blind spot of assuming other people have the same stamina for change that you do. You can pivot quickly because your conviction comes from an internal compass. Others need social proof, stories, and time. If you force change at your speed, you provoke quiet sabotage. The fix is to pace the rollout. Introduce the why first, then the what, then the how. Give small wins early. Let people see that the new path works before you ask them to love it. Finally, the deepest blind spot, treating self-worth as a scoreboard of achievement. It pushes you to do impressive things, but it also keeps you chasing. You can feel strangely empty even when you've won. The fix is to develop a parallel identity that isn't earned, one rooted in values, relationships, and a sense of meaning that doesn't vanish when a project ends. Curate one ritual that reconnects you to that base: journaling, prayer, meditation, gratitude walks, whatever reminds you that your worth is not a deliverable. So how do you put all of this into practice without overwhelming yourself? Use a weekly INTJ self-audit. It's fast, ruthless, and kind. First, scan your week for one decision where you felt unusually certain. Name the assumption underneath it. Ask what data could disprove it, then schedule the smallest test you can run in the next 7 days. That's your foresight upgrade. Second, pick one relationship that matters, work or personal. Before your next conversation, write one sentence that acknowledges their reality and one question that invites them in. Use both. That's your empathy install. Third, choose the plan you've been over-polishing. Cut it to a minimum viable version and ship it to someone you trust for feedback. That's your perfectionism antidote. Fourth, invite one dissenting voice into your process this week. Ask them to find the hole you're not seeing. Say, thank you, not yes, but that's your feedback loop reopened. Fifth, block a 25-minute admin sprint every day for the simple things that eat your time. When the timer ends, stop. This wins back attention for higher-level thinking. Sixth, schedule one unproductive hour with someone you care about. No agenda. No optimizing. Just presence. Watch what that does to your energy and clarity. Seventh, write your influence map for your most important project. Who can greenlight, who can stall, who must be seen? Plan 2 micro touches. A preview for one, a public thank you for another. That's politics, done cleanly. And eighth, define your floor and ceiling for your systems. What's the simplest version that works on a bad day? What's the complexity limit where gains flatten? Live inside that band. If this feels like a lot, remember, The goal isn't to become a different person. The goal is to become a truer version of yourself, sharp, visionary, and effective with humans. Your mind is a powerful instrument. With a few smart guardrails, it becomes unstoppable. Here's the truth most INTJs eventually learn. Your blind spots don't cancel your strengths, they complete them. When you add humility to foresight, empathy to clarity, and iteration to ambition, you build plans that people want to help you win. You stop fighting hidden friction and start harnessing real momentum. You don't just predict the future, you bring people with you to build it. So here's your challenge for the week. Pick one blind spot from today and do the smallest possible action to address it in the next 24 hours. Send one message with warmth. Ask one dissenting opinion. Ship one imperfect draft. Run one assumption test. Then notice what changes, not in your theory, but in your results. If this was helpful, share it with the INTJ in your life who's one tiny tweak away from a breakthrough. And if you want more deep dives like this, stick around, because we're just getting started. The architect's hidden cracks aren't a flaw. They're an invitation. Step through them, and watch your plans stop living on paper and start winning in the real world.